Hello, my name is Aubrey. I'm so glad you're here. We're gonna forego the intro today because I just want this to be like a chatty video. It's probably gonna be really messy. I have some tea here with me. Feel free to bring your own beverage of choice. I feel like this is coming across a lot more dramatic than I want it to. This is really not that dramatic, at least I'm trying to keep it from feeling dramatic. Alright, so those of you who've been following my channel for the last few months will know that I have been in a pretty bad reading slump this year. I have been in a reading slump since April. It's currently the very end of August. I have had a really hard time reading. As I was watching BookTube, as I do, the YouTube algorithm recommended me a video. And the video is I Don't Like Reading Anymore by Chandler Ainsley. And I don't know how the YouTube algorithm knew that I needed this video, but it knew and it delivered it to me. Basically, in this video, Chandler discusses how she started her channel, she was reading a variety of genres, but that over the years she started to niche down to the point where she was only reading romance, and that reading had started to become boring and not fun and not creatively fulfilling anymore. And as I was watching this video, it hit me like a ton of bricks that this is what I have done to myself with the fantasy genre. Here I am to chat about that, to talk about like how I think I got here and what I'm going to be doing moving forward. I first discovered BookTube back in 2014. I wish I could remember what video I found, like whose channel it was. Like, I don't know how I stumbled across it, but I found it and I instantly fell in love with BookTube, and I have been an avid watcher of BookTube since that period of time. And I remember back then, everything felt interesting to me. Now, I have always loved fantasy. Like, fantasy has always been my '1 most preferred genre, literally as long as I can remember. But I've always liked a little bit of everything. I remember that time of 2014 just being interested in lit fic and romance and thrillers and memoirs and just like, you know, just a little bit of everything. Over time, I don't know, I just kept sort of like whittling down. I just became more and more interested and immersed in the fantasy genre and fantasy booktube, to the point where when I started my channel in 2020, I was really only reading fantasy and sci-fi and thrillers and horror and murder mysteries. And you know, I don't think it was like a completely conscious choice to like exclusively be reading those genres. I think that's just like what I was the most interested in. And when a really popular book would kind of break through and make its way through the BookTube ecosystem, you know, I would see those books and I would think that sounds really interesting and maybe one day I'll get around to reading that, but right now I'm a lot more interested in fantasy. And when it comes to actually picking a book off my shelves that I want to read, I am pretty much exclusively reading fantasy. And so I think, you know, it started off very innocently. I think after starting my BookTube channel, it like really exacerbated the problem, because once you start branding yourself and you start growing an audience in a specific niche, it's really hard to go outside of that. The more that I talked about fantasy and the more that I used fantasy in my branding and in my titles and my thumbnails, you know, I have felt sort of locked in to this genre. For the most part, that like really hasn't been a problem. Like I said, fantasy is my favorite genre and I have been happy to like pretty much exclusively read it. There have been a couple of books here and there that I really wanted to read and I didn't let myself read them because they weren't fantasy and I didn't think I could talk about them on my channel. Could I even add it to my Goodreads, because my followers on YouTube often follow me on Goodreads and they would see that I read that book and never talked about it on my channel. I would just like get up in my head about it so much to the point where it just didn't feel worth it. And for whatever reason, this year is the first year that I have just really felt my brain rebelling against the box that I've put myself in. I have been craving other genres in a way that I haven't since I first discovered BookTube. I want to be reading thrillers. I want to be reading horror. I want to be reading literary fiction. I don't know. I'm just sort of having this like craving and I don't know exactly for what. I almost feel like I'm craving just like the way that I used to read. I'm craving the freedom to pick up whatever I wanted and enjoy whatever I wanted, which I just sort of don't feel like I have anymore, which is very silly. Like, this is just like a very silly thing that I've done to myself. I don't totally know like how this happened or why this happened. Yes, I love fantasy, and fantasy is my favorite genre. And if you were to ask me like what my favorite TV shows or movies are, you know, the ones at the tippy top would all be fantasy and sci-fi. But, you know, when you go further down the list, like, I also love, you know, Gilmore Girls and Veronica Mars and Our Flag Means Death. Like, I am perfectly capable of loving and enjoying things outside of SFF. So I just like, I don't know why with books, I wanted to like narrow and narrow and narrow. I wonder if it was sort of a response to like overwhelm, you know, like if you're reading all genres, there are so many books, you know, there's just so many books, and there are new books coming out every day. And like, how do you read it all? And I guess I wonder if it was self-defense of just feeling like, well, if I just sort of like put my blinders on and I only focus on this one genre, it feels manageable and like tackleable. There are lists of the 20 best fantasy series of all time, and like those, you could read those in a lifetime. But you know, if you're reading everything, how do you keep up with it all? Or it could be a neurodivergent like special interest type thing where it's like, this is my whole personality. I don't know. Like, I don't really know how I got here, but it isn't working for me anymore. Things are going to be changing a little bit on my channel. For the foreseeable future, I will be including at least one non-SFF book in all of my wrap-ups. I would love to say that I will be reading one every month, but my reading is so inconsistent that I don't think I can fully commit to that. For every wrap up, I will have something that isn't fantasy or sci-fi, and I'm pretty much counting anything. So thrillers, horror, magical realism, literary fiction, contemporary fiction, romance, memoirs, like anything outside of SFF counts. I will be sprinkling those in as time goes on, and I hope that this is okay. I feel very self-conscious about this choice. Like, I know this is not a big deal. Like, I know so many of you out there probably also read outside of the fantasy and sci-fi genres. Like, I know objectively this is not a big deal, but it feels like a big deal because I mean, this is my 3rd year on BookTube. At the end of the year, it'll be 4 years on BookTube, and like, this is the house that I built, you know? This has been a lot of work and a lot of time. I love my channel, and my channel has been doing really well this year, and I don't want to do anything to mess it up. So this feels scary, but you know, at the same time, this is for fun. For Chandler, like, that's her job. Like, she is a booktuber. And so her coming out and saying, like, I need to read other genres besides romance is probably a lot scarier for her because, yeah, of course you don't want to alienate your audience that, like, is literally your paycheck, right? But, you know, my channel is still in its infancy. Like, we're at 2,000 subscribers. I have plenty of room to grow, and I would rather do this now than try to, like, push it down and then have it all just pop out later. So anyway, I hope this is cool with you guys. I'm very self-conscious about it. All right, so I sort of quickly wanted to go through some books that have like passed me by over the years, books that have sounded interesting and were kind of those like one day type of books, because these are the exact type of books that I am hoping to incorporate more on my channel. So first up, we've got The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, Beach Read by Emily Henry, Homegoing by Ya Gyasi, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This is one that really, really hurt me to pass by because I loved iCarly growing up, and Sam was always my favorite character, and I really wanted to read this book when it came out, and I didn't let myself, which is dumb. That's just like a really dumb thing. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennin, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This one was like a big book, I think last year or the year before. Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and then 3 authors that I just sort of want to try out. Frederick Bachman. I've never read a Frederick Bachman book. I would like to try him out as an author in the future, as well as Riley Sager, who I know is very sort of polarizing, but also very popular, and I would like to try him out at some point. And Allie Hazelwood, who is another very famous romance writer. I would like to give her books a try as well. Those books and those types of books are things that I'm going to be experimenting with in the future. And mostly I don't know, I want to be sort of free to pick up whatever I want to read, which, you know, I don't really feel at the moment, and I haven't felt in a while. Like I said, it's kind of sad. It's very silly. We're not doing it anymore. We're not doing it anymore. If you have any like non-SFF books you would like to recommend me, please do so. I don't know who I am outside of the fantasy genre in terms of books. I guess that's part of what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I mean, if there's things that you think that I would like, let me know. Oh, you know another series that I really want to get into? It's the Veronica Speedwell series, which is like a Regency mystery romance series. I've heard really good things about it. It's supposed to be a lot of fun. And I was planning to try reading it this year, except that I thought that it was sort of a paranormal series and it isn't. And when I discovered that it wasn't, I was like, oh, well, I guess I can't read it. But yes, I can. Yes, I can. Oh, what a dumb thing. So yeah, I'd really like to read that series. I'm excited to sort of try new things and find new favorites. Thank you so much for watching this video and for your continued support. I really appreciate it. Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope to see you next time. Bye!